Hey guys, I'm Anashi Designs and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am doing a Q&A video. I asked you guys for questions over my Facebook, Instagram, and here on YouTube, and I got some really good ones. So I'm going to go through them all one at a time in order that they were sent in and answer them, and hopefully it'll be some interest to you guys. So I'm going to start off with the Instagram questions. So the first Instagram question comes from Cyberfox007. What are the kinds of things you like in cosplay photos? So personally, I really like when cosplay photos actually show off the costume nicely. Nothing that really hides it all or when the costume's all helter-skelter. But I also like it when it's appropriately and aesthetically fits the character. To just say I like a good, nice aesthetic photo doesn't say much because what aesthetic are you talking about? But character-specific aesthetics, ones that just feel like it's in a situation the character would be in but still shows off the costume. These ones back here are actually some really great examples because you actually see the costumes quite nicely and they're also really beautiful aesthetic-wise and they fit the characters. Clear photos, seen in character as if the character jumped out of the screen out into real life kind of idea. My style of cosplay, I do make all my costumes and I like to show all the things in them. Photos that show the costume are really important to me. Question number 2 comes from Fatsili the One. How realistic do you think it would be to hope that cons reopen? I'm assuming when Fatsili says this that she means soon or within 2021. And honestly, earlier in the year, I thought 2021's con season would be completely back, everything would be back to normal by like the end of the year. I'm not sure at this point. KatsuCon's already been canceled. I know a lot of the big cons in the beginning of 2021 are already canceling. There is no vaccine in sight. Once that gets out and then everyone has to get it and then events will start to reopen again. So even if, say, next week a vaccine is found, it's still going to take a lot of time and will still take up until probably almost 2022. I really don't see cons being back, or at least back to normal. They might be limited in certain ways. I don't think it's very realistic that, especially in early 2021, that cons are going to be back. Things are a little unsure right now, aren't they? This next question comes from Loki Samurai. And it's, how do I know how many embroidery do I need? I'm assuming you're asking how much embroidery materials you need, like the embroidery flosses and things like that for your projects. I personally don't do a lot of embroidery, so I'm probably not the best person to ask this to. Typically, when it comes to things that are notion-based, like threads and things like that, I typically just buy a lot. For me, calculating the amount of thread I need, it's not something I can calculate or wrap my brain around calculating, so I usually don't. So I actually don't know any specific calculations for embroidery floss specifically. So if somebody else knows how to calculate the amount of embroidery floss you need, please let me know, because there are a lot of people out there who know a heck of a lot more about embroidery than I do. Another question from Fatsili the One is, concerning the year we just had, how are you planning your 2021 cos plans? So I mentioned this briefly in my updates and announcements video that I am going on with a new project, a really big project, that is the remake of my Mirror Snow White cosplay that I made a few years ago. So I'm remaking that costume completely without any deadlines. It's not like, oh, I'm planning this for this. I tend to usually plan my cosplays based on what events are coming up, what cosplays I need, what groups I'm planning, and what masquerades I'm planning to enter. Usually the masquerades being the big things, because usually those bigger costumes are required more planning, or for the skit or whatever it may be. Planning without any of that, likely without any of that, and with all the costumes I made this year, if cons do manage to come back in 2021, I have a bunch of costumes that are ready to go for cons to be debuted, to be entered in masquerades. So it's not like I'll have someone like, oh, I have to enter a masquerade and I have to make something for that. Like, it won't be in that kind of situation. I still have almost a whole year's worth of things that are enterable in things. So even if everything just suddenly lifts and it's all back to normal, it's not like I'm planning for any specific cons still, and it's really hard to plan for them. So I'm just gonna be working on a big project, something that will likely take me months of work, if not all of 2021, I'm not sure. I haven't made a project this big before, so I'm just kind of going with the flow. If that ends up taking a lot shorter than I planned, I'm just gonna go with another flow. I'm considering just working on a lot of bigger projects, things that usually I can't fit between 2 convention deadlines in between. This question comes from Vision of Grace 11. What aspects of sewing do you find easiest and hardest? Something I find rather simple anytime is a lot of very straightforward sewing, if that makes sense. Things that don't have complicated seams, things that have nice straight top stitching, or top stitching that's easy to get into and everything like that. I really like top stitching and understitching and all those kind of things. I find them satisfying to do, and I find them relatively simple. They're simple to do and they have really nice results. Something I find hardest in sewing is anything that requires maneuvering around the needle on the machine, but something I can't do by hand. So something I can't use needle and thread with my hands to do, but then I have to like get under and over and fold while there's that foot in the way on the machine. That I find extremely annoying and difficult. And when you're doing stuff like that and you can't really see, it can be really difficult to have the final product still look good while doing it, which is frustrating. Another question from CyberFox007 is, what is the most random or unusual material you have used in a cosplay? If you've been around this channel for a long time or just happened upon my channel because of this video, there's a video of me wearing a duct tape skirt. I still have it, of course, and it still works rather well. It is made of steel strapping, which is a strap that goes around lumber. So it's from a lumber yard. Dad got it for me. And well, it was really rusted and kind of gross and also potentially dangerous and sharp. So I had to cover it with something, and I found this metallic duct tape and realized that like ribbon or anything like that wouldn't be strong enough and wouldn't look like a metal cage hoop skirt properly. You know, Mom and I tried a lot of things out together. This definitely was a two set of hands kind of job to do just because of the nature of it. But yeah, I managed to make a duct tape hoop skirt instead of having a real steel, completely steel hoop skirt that I couldn't sit in, couldn't maneuver in. This thing is super, super flexible, extremely, extremely strong. You can't cut through this unless you actually use like a knife or scissors, and even then, scissors don't like this stuff very much. So very unusual, but really did the job really, really well for my Alyssa cosplay. This question is from Daniel21MX, and it is, what is your dream outfit? The one you would like to make from scratch. So I'm assuming you mean my dream cosplay of sorts. Dream cosplay or dream cosplay build. Probably Twilight Princess Zelda. That dress is gorgeous. The details on it are lovely. It has structure involved in it for sure. And it has all these really lovely aspects to it. So beautiful and looks like it'd be kind of satisfying to make. Because compared to other Zeldas who have very flowy designs, very loose fitting, like young Zelda, like my young Zelda cosplay, it's very fitted, there's precise lines to it. Kind of makes me excited. The next question comes from Nachan Cosplay, and that is, favorite cosplay that you've ever done? This is a toss-up between two of my cosplays. Usually when I answer this on my Instagram, I say my Tomoyo cosplay, because that is one of my more recent, kind of bigger projects, and it was involved in an overall project that was really fun with some of my really good friends. But I'm also really, really proud of my Urbosa cosplay. I love the way I look in Urbosa. I love all the little details on it. Really love the character Urbosa. She's probably one of my favorite characters, so it felt powerful being Urbosa. Just like it feels elegant being in my Princess Tomoyo cosplay. I think it's probably Urbosa is my favorite cosplay. Next question comes from my Facebook page, and that is, would you ever try to make a Sailor Scout Kigurumi? Probably not. Kigurumi cosplays are something I usually save for your critter characters, your less detailed characters. I don't feel like the Sailor Scout outfit translate very well into a Kigurumi very well. They're soft and cuddly and loose fitting and baggy, and these are little leotards with skirts on them. Don't know how well that would translate, but I would try to do one for either Luna or Artemis or any of the other small little characters like that. And last question, which also comes from my Facebook page, is, what was your biggest sewing challenge to date? This is a hard question because you'd assume that it was one of my bigger, most recent projects like Tomoyo, for example, but I don't think it is my Tomoyo, because that was very straightforward sewing, lots of straight lines and loose fitting garments. In 2016, I apparently really liked challenging myself a lot, and I made two bigger costumes that were really, I was way in over my head for, and that was my Mirror Mirror Snow White and Lissa. Lissa, I think, is probably the more challenging of the two, just because her garments are strange. They're not usual garments, they're not based on history. It's drawing. The person probably wasn't trying to translate into a real outfit, while Mirror Mirror is a real outfit that I can reference. So probably my Lissa cosplay. Now if we're talking about sewing challenges in general, probably one of the class projects I had when I was in costume production. They got us to do a corset, and we had to hand baste all the seam allowance around everything, which is a normal step to take in that program. But one of the steps after that was to hand baste all those bastings together. So we had to hand baste, I think it was a 14 panel corset completely together by hand first. And it all had to be within 1/32 of an inch. Couldn't be more off than that. Like, if it was off than that, we had to take it apart and redo it all over again. And I was just basting it together so that we could sew it right on that exact line afterwards, which was crazy, it was hard, and we only had a week turnaround to do it, plus other classes. So that was definitely the most challenging sewing I've ever done, because it was very precise, but it was also all just one little line. So it makes your eyes go a little crazy after a little while. I'd like to thank those of you that did submit some questions for this. I had a lot of fun answering them and going through them as they were coming in. They were some really good questions, and I'm really happy that they were such interesting questions to answer. And of course, relevant to the year of 2020 in some cases. So thank you guys so much for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Check out my Instagram and other social medias as well, where I have other different content going on, including of that Snow White costume hopefully coming up soon, because I've already started to purchase things to make it, so I'm really looking forward to starting to share the progress of that, especially starting on my Instagram. So like, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. See you guys later.